buying your first home, it's never been easy. But it just feels to me like today's first-time buyers are facing more challenges than ever. Affordability struggles, rising rents, changing stamp duty rules. I mean, that's just a few of them. But what can be done to help? Well, I'm joined by Charlotte Harrison from Skipton Building Society to talk about the hurdles that first-time buyers are up against and importantly, what solutions are out there. We'll also be diving into Skipton's latest mortgage offering and how that has been specifically designed to ease the financial pressure during those first few months of homeownership. So let's get started.
Charlotte, what would you say are the biggest hurdles or obstacles at the moment for first-time buyers? Because there's always a big interest of getting onto the market, but enough of them aren't managing to pull it off.
Yeah, and I think biggest challenges right now, but probably historic biggest challenges, they're always the same, which is house prices continue to increase and we don't see wages grow at the same pace, so that affordability continues to stretch. And then it's so hard to save for a deposit,
Costs of living, costs of rent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think, some of our data shows that for people looking to buy the average first-time buyer property in their local area, 9 in 10 can't do it without some form of help.
Yeah, I wonder if that's always been the case a little bit. There probably isn't a first-time buyer in the land that buys exactly what they want, where they want it. And I don't think that's changed, but it's got harder.
I think that's it. I think it's got harder. We know that the average age of the first-time buyer is increasing. So we know something's happening.
Yes.
So average age of first-time buyer now 32, 33. So it's taking people longer and longer to get onto the property ladder, which means they're having to buy, stretch themselves further.
I read somewhere recently that the over 50s first-time buyer is a big sector of the market now.
Over 50s, and that's quite frightening though, isn't it?
Yeah, it
because
is.
You're thinking about, well, how long are you stopping in your property? How long's your mortgage? Are we lending into retirement? What are the future options? So for me, the sooner we can get people onto the property ladder and paying that debt down is just so incredibly important.
Because you can't be having a mortgage when you're 70 or when you want to retire.
Well, I think you'd rather not, wouldn't you? No, absolutely. It's so critical that we try and get people accessing property sooner, and then it helps with longer term financial resilience.
Yeah, and also I always feel if you're able to buy your own piece of England, you put roots into your community and you improve it and it becomes your sanctuary and your privacy and your security. There's a lot more than just...
Yeah, there's the kind of it's not just the financial security, it's about establishing something, making it your home. We have such a strong connection to our homes, and in where we live, we don't get the fortune of being outside all the time. So actually, our four walls that encapsulate us are really important, aren't they? Because
So there's been some changes on stamp duty, and stamp duties are one of those topics that everybody debates, and there's been a lot of uncertainty over the last few years.
Yes.
Where are things at now?
So I smile at that. Lots of debates. If I was having a wand to wave, I'd probably do away with stamp duty and transaction tax. And I say that because I think there's more stimulated in the economy when you buy a house with your removals, fees, solicitors' fees, etc., etc., etc. So, but there has been a lot of changes through stamp duty. We saw it during the pandemic and COVID changes. And then more recently, reduction in stamp duty. And I think for me, that presents a challenge to people looking to buy, and especially probably more so for first-time buyers, where they want some certainty over what the deposit requirement is, what the legal fees are required, removals, etc., because it's really costly, isn't it? So if you all of a sudden know that you've got to save an extra, £6,200,
having paid tax on it.
So yeah, exactly. It's not welcome in terms of having this kind of yo-yo effect. In terms of those stamp duty changes, the amount of average first-time buyer homes in the local authorities quadrupled overnight. So it went from 8% incurring stamp duty to 32%. Okay. So it's not insignificant.
Yeah, that's big. That is a big change.
It is a big change.
Yeah. And what are you up to at Skipton to help this?
So, we're doing a lot actually. So we're investing a lot in supporting first-time buyers and homeowners in understanding What does it actually mean in terms of getting onto the property ladder, living in a house, moving, etc. So we launched our second iteration of our Home Affordability Index in February this year.
Tell me a bit about that.
So this is I think I can say one of a kind index, because what it looks at is not just house prices and how they move relative to wage growth. What it does instead is looks at a real holistic picture of what does it mean to purchase a house and live in a house. So it takes into account deposits required, wages in the area, household bills, rental costs, stamp, everything in terms of what does it look like to buy and live.
In a specific area?
And so we've got that throughout the UK, and it's broken down into 363 different local authorities. So it's massive.
That's a massive piece of work.
Yeah.
And who's using it?
So a number of people. So people can go on and use that in terms of looking at their own local authority, where they currently live or maybe where they want to live, and they can search whether or not it's a first-time buyer, a home mover, different income brackets, or whether or not you might have children. But we're also using it as Skipton to lobby for change on what's needed to stimulate more growth in the housing market. So, for example, what local authorities are captured by property prices that exceed the current lifetime ISA purchase price. What are the least and most affordable areas in the UK? And I could ask you, so if I was to say, what's the least affordable area to live in, where would you say?
Least affordable would be Belgravia or Mayfair or something like that.
Yes, not so. So the data shows the least affordable area is Ceredigion in Wales.
I beg your pardon?
You wouldn't have said that, would you? Wales.
Yeah.
But that's because we're not just looking at house prices, it's because we're looking at house prices and then wages in that area and income and employment. So yeah, it's not necessarily what I'd expect.
Is that an area where there aren't many jobs and there's lots of second homes?
Yeah, I think what we've seen is that second homes, post-pandemic, it's pushed up house prices. And wages in that area haven't kind of followed suit. So it's pricing people out. Yeah, not necessarily what you'd expect.
No, not at all. so people can use this report to assess where they could and should move to.
Yes. And I think other things that we know is people need more support from others. So 9 in 10 can't afford to buy without a bit of extra help. We know that, for example, some of the most affordable areas for first-time buyers are in Scotland. Aberdeenshire was the most affordable, with 3 in 10 being able to buy in that area. So it gives people a flavour of what does the kind of the map look like, and where may they choose to go, perhaps.
And society is a bit more fluid nowadays, with more people working from home, or commuting less often anyway. People can, the map of where they can consider has got bigger. Yes,
yeah. And you'll know, I mean, people, we can't all have our perfect necessarily.
No.
There's compromise always. So we know that people do have to compromise on space or location or whatever it might be. But fundamentally, it's still a real challenge.
Yes, I completely agree. Yeah, people have always had to move where they can afford, but it has just got harder.
It has, absolutely.
And unless people do things to help government or lenders, then where does it leave everybody else?
Yeah,
because the whole market will come to a grinding halt.
Yes, and that's why for us, we've produced the index to say here is some rich insight and data to ask the government for change. But equally, we're not just standing back and saying we're not doing anything ourselves. So we do our own product innovation to try and help people with routes to the market.
Okay, can you talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, so we've done all sorts. We launched our track record mortgage product in 2023, and this is aimed for people that are currently trapped in rental. So if you think about rental costs increasing, people show they can afford to pay the household bills, but they just can't save for a deposit. So we've got that. We've also got...
Has that been popular?
It has been popular, really popular. We've also had our income booster product. So this is where you might have accumulated some of the deposit, but your affordability is just slightly stretched. And so what you can do is add a willing extra person onto the mortgage that can take in some of their affordability, their income, into your assessment. So they don't have to go in the title deeds, but they can come on the mortgage with you, and then as and when your circumstances change, they can come back off. So typically that might be mums and dads helping their children.
So in that situation, would mum or dad actually be putting money into the pot every month, or only if necessary?
Only if necessary.
Okay.
So it's for whatever family agreement, I suppose. But it just helps show that if there's a bit of extra support, they can't quite meet where they need to get to, it still can help you get onto the property ladder.
Yeah.
We have some fantastic savings products. So the Lifetime ISA, that was launched in 2017. That's a great product for people that are trying to save to accumulate a deposit, because you get a 25% government bonus every year.
What's your take on the level of the Lifetime ISA? It's 450,000, isn't it?
It is, and so we would really welcome a review and a change of that. So I think when that was originally launched in 2017, it was probably, I'm going to say it was a kind of a London problem in terms of the average first-time buyer property price at 450 in most areas wouldn't have caused an issue. But we've seen house prices increase by around 30% since then. So we need to have a look at that, because it's starting to become more of a challenge, and it will continue to be more of a challenge if it's not reviewed. But for those that are under that threshold, I think it's a really, really good product.
And are you talking to the government about that?
We are. I was at the...
Are they listening?
I think they are, yes, actually. I think, it feels like it's very open to dialogue around how is this product working, where is it adding value, and what could we do to make it better.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And if more people move, then that stimulates so many other things.
Exactly.
Now, I've read some headlines about your delayed start product, which is pretty creative, isn't it?
I'd like to think so, yes. Thank you. Yeah, this one fascinated me because I hadn't realised the amount of first-time buyers that are still paying rent when they first move into their new property.
Right.
So nearly half, 45% of first-time buyers have a crossover between their rental period and their new mortgage.
Okay.
And I think it's on average nearly 2.5 months worth, if you will.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
It surprised me as well.
I think you say 2.5 weeks.
No. But I suppose there's a lot of complexities, aren't there, when you're trying to buy a house and making sure that you've got somewhere to live until you're moving in, etc.
Yeah.
So the thinking behind this is your finances are so stretched anyway. You've just spent legal fees, valuation fees, surveys, moving costs. You might want to actually decorate your property or do something, insurance, everything.
Then you've got to buy your toaster and your kettle and your bed and your sofa. And
exactly.
Yeah.
So what we wanted to do is just give some breathing room. Yeah, so the way that the product works is that there are no payments required for the first 3 months.
None at all.
None at all. So you get a 3-month breathing window. And then you start to pay after that point.
You take out your product, delayed start product.
Yes.
You complete on the house.
Yes.
You put your deposit down.
Yep.
You get the keys, you move in.
You worry about other things for 3 months, all the toasters, kettles, beds, etc. You might be paying the rent on your old place because that's what you're still in your tenancy. And then after 3 months, we say, okay, we're ready to go now.
Okay. So if you, for the sake of argument, taken a 15-year mortgage, actually it would be 15 years and 3 months.
No, it would still be 15 years. So what we do is we say, what would the cost be over the initial term?
Yeah.
And we give you 3 months breathing space and we say, just do it for last.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And it would really take the pressure off, because that is a really intense time on the...
It is. It is. So what we're just trying to do is, and it's not for everybody, so some people might not want this, but for those where it works, just give a bit of that breathing space and allow people just to settle into the new homes, enjoy that.
So the delayed start, is it a separate product, or they can access the delayed start for 3 months with all of your mortgage deals?
So we've got it as a separate product range, up to 95% loan to value.
Okay, but the same rate of lending as...
Yeah, so it's just another product, yeah.
And is it just for renters?
It's not, but it is just for first-time buyers. So first-time buyers only for that just bit of breathing space.
You wouldn't give me one on my remortgage that's coming up then?
No, I don't think you need one.
And for people that are looking at any of these products, what would be your kind of top 3 tips?
I think credit score is so important. So make sure you've got a really clean bill of health in terms of your credit score.
Yeah.
Always speak to people for advice. I think a lot of people sometimes go to friends and family, mum and dad, speak to somebody that does this for a living and can give you that independent expert advice. And if you can, try as early on as possible to get into a really good savings habit. Because that can set you up for so much success.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's about early preparation, isn't it? If you know you'd like to buy a house one day, actually start preparing now.
And start with, it can be small savings to start up with, but we know they accumulate interest. So let's get them going and then they can grow.
Great. I think you're doing great things at Skipton. It is, of course, innovation in the mortgage world that's going to keep the whole market sort of fluid. It's brilliant. Well done.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Move IQ's First Home Focus podcast. We hope you found our tips and advice helpful. Remember, home ownership may be closer than you think, and we are here to support you every step of the way. So please don't forget to subscribe, rate and review our podcast so you never miss an episode. Until next time.